Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Radio Free Wall Street. You are here. I'm with you. I'm so glad. I want to talk about something serious tonight. I've been pretty hard on Donald Trump lately. And I decided, in view of today's events, several of them, that I wanted to look at it from his perspective. Now, if you view the world from Donald Trump's eye level, it's got to be a really rotten deal. I mean, you are president of the United States of America, okay? I mean, that's one of the, it's like, if you're into that kind of thing, it doesn't get any better than that, right? His life is the pinnacle of success. He's got his name on buildings all over the world. Got to be the most widely recognized human being ever, right? Donald Trump is like a god. He's like a Caesar. I mean, a pharaoh. And you would think he'd have respect, which is something I think he desires very much, probably more than anything else. And he's got old girlfriend Stormy Daniels wouldn't give him a second date. He's got that bunny rabbit girl who left him. It gets worse than that. He's got no loyalty from his FBI director. No loyalty from, the Attorney General of the United States. He's got investigations that's embarrassing and belittling. He's being insulted by the opposition party constantly. He has no respect. I mean, his attorney, the fixer guy, is snitching him out with tapes. His campaign manager is up on charges relating to Russian collusion, I want to mention to you. And his assistant snitching him out. People have left the administration en masse. Jong Num Chucks, he thought he had to deal with it. He's still playing Rocket Man. I mean, what's the difference if you're building or shooting him? I guess it's an improvement if it's okay if you just build. Do not light fuse. So you got to understand, Trump's sitting there, and he truly regards himself as a great man. He truly regards himself as a great intellect. He's also talking about beauty. He's a good-looking guy. He has a hairdo that won't quit. He has a trophy wife. Just when everything would be going his way. He has investigations out the wazoo. They're putting sanctions against his buddy Putin, who's a very important part of Trump's life. I mean, whatever reason we can argue about, but let's face it, Donald Trump likes Putin. Donald Trump's want a better relationship with Russia. And shutting down the Russian banking system is what they're moving towards today, by the way. Record level, a low of the Chinese ruble against the dollar. It's from the financial crisis days, it looks really ugly. He's got trade wars with no respect, okay? His people told him, and he believed, that if he started a trade war with China, with Canada, with Mexico, Mexico would back down, right? They're all standing up to him. I mean, if you're a powerful man and egotistical, and let's face it, he is, you'd have to be in that position. It's kind of humiliating that Canada? I mean, what the hell? Eh? I mean, they don't even have a nuclear weapon. Mexico is not like a superpower. They're flipping him the bird. China? Boy, who thought they'd put up such a fight? In Europe? I mean, he's even got the French he can't do a deal with. Donald Trump is miserable. He's miserable with his life. He's miserable with being president of the United States. This is a guy who, forget Constitution, this is a man about power. And if you're a power-hungry guy, you would have to think to yourself, I'm president, I've arrived. I should be able to do what I want. I mean, he could piss on the front lawn. Who's going to give him a ticket? So the problem is, it hasn't worked out the way he dreamed it would. What happens when you get the life of your dreams and you find out it's a nightmare? I mean, he's constantly being ridiculed and derided. I mean, this is a man, really seriously, this is a man that respect means a lot to him. He wants to be great. He really wants to be worshipped. Look, kind of tough when in your own city they don't like you, and you got to go to, like, Dearborn, Michigan, and all these little shit towns. And, it's not the ruling elite and your country club buddies that are cheering you on, but construction workers? I mean, that is not how Donald Trump envisioned this was going to happen, not by a long shot. And the problem he has is that things keep getting worse. He has a bunch of women. I mean, he derided Hillary Clinton. He has a bunch of women who are going to make an outstanding showing in his next elections. And these are women that squarely do not like a male chauvinist pig like Donald Trump. I mean, if you had to write male chauvinist pig and you had to look it up in the dictionary, I mean, you'd have to see a picture of Donald Trump, okay? I mean, doesn't he not epitomize that? So you'd have to say that these women who are running, and by the way, pretty outstanding showing by the Democrats, it's kind of scary. And remember, he understands the ramifications of impeachment and of a House that is no longer under his control. And I can guarantee that concerns him a lot. He understands that if you piss off Putin, that this is a very powerful guy who, obviously there's some kind of debt of gratitude, some kind of respect, some kind of mano de mano, and my body language tells you that the guy who's leading that relationship is definitely Putin. Okay, so again, these are all these issues, all these events that show a president who's very weakened. And that is not Donald Trump's style. And, if you go further along the line here, you got to understand that he's not even popular with his own party. Look, you want a great example of that? Look at the wall. I mean, he really wants that friggin' wall. He's got to have the wall. And no matter what he does, they won't give him the wall. Now, I mean, think about it. You're a lord. You're a king. You are a champion. You have achieved his greatest things, and you decided you want a wall? And every time you try to get one, you can't. So you can understand why Donald Trump is very frustrated. You can understand why he's raising hell on a daily basis with his staff. You can understand why, from his perspective, he is not getting the respect he demands, deserves, and is supposed to have. And that is a fact. And Donald is, like I said, a very frustrated, very angry man. And I wonder where this manifests itself. At some point, when you look at a guy like Donald, you got to realize that he's done something that is not working out right. Now, my opinion of Donald Trump is that he gets more dangerous by the day. My opinion is that he is extremely angry, extremely frustrated. To say he feels unloved is probably an understatement. So where does a man like Donald Trump go from here? I mean, where does he go to get back his dignity? Where does he apply for his manhood? How does he get even with his opposition? Okay, and the answer is that it's very elusive to him. He wants to testify before the Mueller investigation and show how he's not afraid of him, and how he can, with his brilliance and freewheeling style, can dominate the conversation. Everyone around him knows that's a big mistake, but he may be making it. To say we are in the twilight of the Trump administration is a premature call. But we may get there. I mean, he's got the Fed Reserve raising interest rates. He's been around long enough to know what that means, and he's very unhappy about that. He's browbeating the Attorney General. You got to feel sorry for Sessions. So, talk about the whipping boy brought up from the dungeon after dinner for entertainment. Donald Trump's been chewing on that poor guy, and he just, he's standing up to him with dignity as much as he can. So these are times that tries a man's soul. And these are times that make you wonder about where is the Trump presidency going to go from here? Where is Donald the dealmaker? Where is his capacity to maintain control in these ugly times? And the answer is that it's not happening. Things are falling apart for Donald Trump from his perspective. And the biggest and most dangerous defeat will be the humiliating midterm elections. And he got a taste for that. Now, I'm sure they're going to ballyhoo how great it was, but it was a disaster. And pretty much confirming that the House is lost. And the Senate is now for grabs. Remember, one time the Senate was solidly in the Republicans' hands, and now that's slipping away. A lot of candidates are saying, Donald, maybe you don't need to fly all the way out here, from Washington, D.C. I'll come meet you at the country club, and, let me handle my campaign. It's kind of hard for a sitting president to hear that people don't want him to campaign with them. And by the way, any Republican that does, unless he's in a very, very right-wing, conservative Rust Belt kind of place, really is better off having Donald Trump stay home. So these moves demonstrate a president who is seeing from his standpoint a lack of respect, a lack of control, and I guarantee he doesn't like it. Donald Trump's a very unhappy man. His life is not unfolding as it should. He's not acquiring the power base he thinks he deserves and should have. And I warn you this, I am increasingly more concerned about Donald Trump's moves. I'm more concerned about the fact that the sanctions are a tool that is being overused and abused. And I wonder how long before there's a crack up under the runway. I can tell that he is straining at the gears. I can tell he's immensely unhappy. And things are not going his way. And Donald Trump is like that. See, he kind of he thought that once he won the election, he had achieved all he could in life. He had done the pinnacle of success. And that was it. There was no more strife. There was no more fighting. He's in control. And the problem is that everywhere he turns, he's attacked. And as he's so stated, by the way, I truly believe he believes there is a deep state conspiracy against him. I truly believe he believes that they're out to get him. And it's kind of like you're buying your own bullshit kind of thing. And to me, I see Trump's leadership eroding very quickly. I see his life force dwindling away. I don't see him being a healthy, happy man. And I think the people around him are becoming more increasingly aware of the fact that he's a real unhappy guy. Now, what does that mean for you? I mean, if we're analyzing the President of the United States and his power base, if we're analyzing his prospects for staying in power, you'd have to admit that whatever's going on here is not the best of times. And you'd have to admit that, from his standpoint, things are going very badly. I mean, the prosecutor's revving up. He's got people questioning his ability to rule. And at some point, I think, like I said, Donald Trump things are going to become very much glued. And I believe at some point, these prosecutions catch up with him. And my opinion is, and I really want to stress, is that I think we're within 3 months of Donald Trump really doing something drastic. I'm talking about economically affecting the economy, the markets, some coup de grace, some grand finality, some Hail Mary, something. Now, I'll give you where my timing line is, and that is Is this investigation winding down or winding up? Well, from Donald Trump, from the day it started, it should have been over with and winding down. But as we're seeing by the prosecutions, as we're seeing by the evidence, the tapes, the former attorneys, witnesses, things are not going well there at all. When you rely upon Giuliani and Dershowitz, that's not like the dream defense team. Now, that might be two very experienced guys that can give one hell of an interview, and they sure can convince that guy with the right shock absorber on that Chevy that they are right and that this is unconstitutional. The president cannot collude. The president can't obstruct justice as he is justice, and all these ridiculous theories, but it's just not so. And the other problem is that as this thing continues spinning out of control, this is where Donald Trump becomes very dangerous, okay? Now, there's been a lot of talk about Donald Trump being the last president. There's been a lot of talk about him doing something silly-ass crazy. I mean, I'm in conservative circles. I'm sure you've heard it. And my opinion is that in there's something big that's happening, I could see Donald Trump doing something crazy, left field, and very dangerous to our democracy. So do I see Donald Trump being the last president of the United States as the stories have been going around? No, I don't think so. I'm afraid that if he wants to tangle with our spy agencies and our military that regard themselves as the protector of our democracy, things will go very badly for him. I'll put it to you that way. So I don't see him being able to go there too far without being reined in a dramatic way. But I can see him using his powers as president to do some really crazy, shitting, off-the-wall things. And that means that you need to start putting yourself in a defensive posture. You need to start sheltering yourself for an economic downturn, for a stock market crash, for a recession that goes into depression, and for events that I feel will go very, very badly for Donald Trump. Listen to me. This is a man who appears to be very desperate. This is a man who fights traditional ways of doing things. Now, I can understand being a nonconformist. I mean, I have a T-shirt to prove it. But to be a nonconformist, to do things the wrong way, just to do them the wrong way, that's stupid. And I don't see him smart enough to do things clever. I mean that with all my heart and soul. I do not give him a lot of credit for a lot of brains. I don't give him credit for a lot of creativity. I see him very much manipulated, by the way, by the people around him to a dangerous level. And I think that all will end very badly for him. And my fear of Donald Trump is that, you know, he is a man who makes a lot of mistakes in judgment. And what very concerns me about that is he doesn't back down. In other words, when he steps on his great big foot, he just doubles down on it. He doesn't walk away. Now, Donald Trump moves America into a way where chaos and confusion plays in his hands. And this is the very important point I want to make to you, and that is that could I see Donald Trump bringing external strife to America? Yeah. Could I see class warfare? Yeah. Could I see him being the champion of the poor even though he's a rich man? Yeah. Could I see him, for example, taxing the shit out of those rich bastards? Oh, yeah. See, he's made some... Forget the pinching and the dinching. Forget the Mueller investigation, okay? Collusion, not conclusion. Look at the president from the standpoint of the tactics he's deployed. And all of a sudden, let me see if I can put this in a real perspective. If you look at him minus Comey, minus the collusion, if you look at him in terms of trade, in terms of tax reform, in terms of the economy, the reality is he's making colossal errors. He's trying to stimulate the economy after 10 years of stimulation. He is giving a tax break for businesses that they don't need, don't want, and will not use to make more investment in the economy. Remember, the Laffer curve count on this theory that you drastically cut taxes to business, and they have so much money that they put in more factories, they create more jobs, they pay higher wages, and then therefore pay more taxes. But if you're at the maximum economic activity, if you've got all the mall space you need, you've got all the car factories you can use, if you have all the investments, then this is no longer stimulative. Then it becomes a negative in the economy. And people withdraw capital, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So Donald Trump has made a classic mistake in the tax break bonanza for billionaires. He has made a classic mistake in the trade wars. He has made a classic mistake in immigration policy. Let me talk about the immigration policy. With a wink and a nod, illegal immigrants were allowed to enter this country for the past, 30, 40 years? And the reality is, because the workforce was shrinking, and is still shrinking, the fact that with prosperity in America, a lot of menial jobs Americans wouldn't take. And by the way, that's something you've seen all over the world. So you brought these legal immigrants that would do the dirty work. It solved three problems. One, it provided work for immigrants and a safety valve in the poor countries at home because a lot of money went back there in dollars. Two, is they didn't keep that money put in their savings account. They spent it as quickly as they made it, and they spent it on the Walmart lifestyle they learned to love and see here. The third part of this thing is businesses got subsidized in cheap labor and a ready source of people to do menial jobs. And the American people got the benefit in cheaper prices because of that, right? So now that you've criminalized them, now that you have gone ahead and moved aggressively against them, you are having a profound effect on the economy. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. China has basically worldwide increased steel prices by 15%. In other words, America wants to tax by 15%. What they're going to do is keep those profits flowing to them. It's a very clever move. China's allowing their currency to slip in value, which subsidizes their other exports. And China is skillfully, in fact, an amazing way, attacking U.S. companies and industries that represent Donald Trump's voter base. Now, I can tell you for a fact that people in the Trump administration are really stymied and absolutely staggered by the fact that they've been so exquisite in attacking our economy on a state-by-state county level. I mean, they actually know what businesses in what state that have the biggest influence to go after. I mean, from a standpoint, I mean, it's really kind of, it's kind of amazing how often we underestimate the Chinese. And they understand America better than Russia does, by the way. They really understand what the voter map's going to look like. and they really understand how to hurt. You know, it's kind of funny. We're all running around worried about, and rightly so, Russia influencing and manipulating our elections again, okay? But there's no talk about how skillful, using trade war, the Russians are paled in comparison with what the Chinese are doing. The skill level of attacking district by district, industry like Tyson's, grains, pig farmers, they really, really, really know where it hurts. And, you know, this is August. You know, by the time you get into September and go through October, the full impact of the agricultural tit-for-tat trade sanctions will become more apparent. And listen to you very carefully. The big surprise is going to be that the trade war is going to lose Donald Trump the Senate. Now, the House is being lost by a socialistic female uprising. And let me explain the difference in female and male politicians. You just can't get away from the chemicals, my friends, and people don't want to hear that. Agendas for females coming to office is always health care, maternity leave, women's rights, obviously, and Social Security, and the nurturing nature of those females. Males, on the other hand, come to power looking at defense, very male thing, looking at big business, looking at deals and deals and deals. So that means that we are moving in a direction that will be different because of a preponderance of a large number of females who are coming to power on the agenda of health care, mama care, and elderly care. So that swings the economy in that direction. We're definitely becoming more socialist. Now, if you reject forward Donald Trump's tax break bonanza for billionaires and the fact that revenue is going down, not going up, then there's enormous pressure and enormous willingness to tax those rich bastards. I mean, if you look at the baby boomers, they're rapidly becoming a less important force in the economy because of diminishing the numbers. And you have the millennials who are rising in power who are decidedly different in their point of view. Now, let's be careful. You have forces at work here that are truly anti-business, truly are anti-American, anti-First Amendment free press. And those forces are gaining momentum at a time where many people are being impoverished. Many people don't have access to education any longer. Many people are drowning in debt. Many people cannot find high-paying jobs. The unemployment rate among college educated is very, very high in America. In fact, alarmingly so. And creating jobs for the unskilled is important. And coal miners are real important. And I want a steel mill in my neighborhood. How about you? But the reality is we're doing this at the price of higher level jobs, higher level occupations, higher paying jobs, higher skill jobs. You know, it's my old example. If you got a ton of steel, what do you got a ton of steel? If you've got a ton of silicone wafers, well, you got trillions of dollars. So it's this high value economy that we're tracing. It's kind of interesting. China is desperately trying to get out of the coal mining business, desperately trying to get into steel, desperately trying to get into technology, artificial intelligence, 5G, the new wireless services. And America is pretty much shitting on those businesses and trying to get into steel and coal. I mean, does it make any sense to you? And the answer is, it's beyond comprehension the directions he's moving in and the mistakes he's making. If you understand all that, then that means that you need to position yourself for a recession, the Trump depression. Now I want to be very clear here. This analysis I gave you is on the basis of not dealing with his legal problems, not dealing with collusion, not dealing with potential impeachment if the House goes Democratic, which I know it will, and not on Donald Trump becoming a lame duck president because he can't get anything through the House or Senate. And he's on his way to do just that. Hang on here. I love green tea. So, Donald Trump's grasp of the issues is very poor. His agenda is pretty close to meaningless and going nowhere. And the economy is seeing debt expand greatly. Big business slow. He's got another problem. How the hell do you manage all this? He is going to lose the House. He is going to have a dwindling majority at best in Congress, and he's going to have many Democrats that will be able to entice over many Republicans. And that means that anything he was going to get done, he had his first year of grace, and he pretty much blew it. Now the trade wars are ugly. They are destabilizing the economy. The deficits are soaring, and some hard decisions are going to have to be made that's going to involve higher taxes for the masses and a cut down on government services when you have a lot of Democrats coming to power who that's their agenda. So what I'm telling you is that whatever Donald Trump was able to get done, it's over. Whatever power base he built, it's diminishing. Whatever he's going to do to make America great again is not going to happen. You need to understand that Donald's presidency is over, whether or not he has to deal with indictments, collusion, obstruction of justice, and all those other cutesy little things that went on. The people don't like him. Females are mobilizing against him. The college-educated hate his guts, be they liberal or moderates. So now he has the uneducated right-wing, and I don't want to use the term conservatives because it's not really what they are. I would say the right-wing reactionaries. And that is not enough to form a majority. And if you take the Midwest, you can't take America. So his problem is that the support he had in the swing states is rapidly diminishing, and I would use the term drying up. So I'm here to pronounce you that Donald Trump's a very lonely man. His friends are leaving him and forsaking him. And my belief is that he is going to be the worst president we've ever had. And let me say something else. He is going to be powerless, and in that vacuum become even more destructive. See, he doesn't have a power to get things done, but he's got the power to screw things up. So if you can't create, you can destroy. So he's going to be going down in history as the most destructive president we've ever had, to trade, to our military, to NATO, especially to our allies. And he's going to move us out of the sphere of influence. And I'm going to close with this last thing, and that's the March Force, Space Force, Martian invaders, Star Wars. He's moving for a Space Force. Now, you can't go to Syria, and you allowed Russia a toehold in the Middle East. Big mistake. You are giving up Africa to the Chinese. Big mistake. You're letting Latin America fall into disarray, from Venezuela through Central America and even Mexico. Stupid. You don't want to be the policeman of the world, but you want to be the policeman of space. You don't want to take over the gangs in Chicago and end that shit thing with an aggressive federal task force. Shame on you. You don't want to make America great again as a military power maintaining our bases around the world because it costs too much money? Stupid. So we're going to go into space to stop space invaders? We're preparing for war in space? We're not ready for war here. We have not defined our role of who we are and what we are. We were the world's policeman. We were the educator of social justice, of the right to vote, and many important freedoms. And you know what we've done? We've walked away from it. We've completely walked away from it and left a vacuum that China and Russia are rushing in to fill with a different system that makes men slaves, with a system of oligarchs where the ruling elite own everything, do everything, control everything, and everyone else is basically their slaves. And in a lot of ways that fills in with very much Donald Trump's view of himself, his family, and the world. So be prepared for a lot less. Be prepared for a lot more taxes. Be prepared for a slowing economy. And I might add, be prepared to get filthy, stinking rich in the wipeout.